When's your due date?
Right now.
Is your due date September 11th?
What?
How many times have you been pregnant?
3.
This is your 3rd pregnancy?
Yes.
You have 2 babies
It's
at
in
home?
my ass.
You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones?
Beverly, this is the first time I have a patient for you. Alright, last name is Jones. She's G3P2. I'm not sure when her due date is.
Her due date
I
is
just said
the
it was
10th.
the 10th.
I think her due date's the 10th.
She got 3 pregnancies, 2 babies at home.
2 unfortunately to recover in 2 minutes.
I bet y'all listen next time. When you found out you was delivering at this hospital,
Lang.
your ass should have changed doctors.
Thank you.
Everybody say how they treat people here.
There's so much racism in the medical industry, and I can't. Like, this woman never should have had to wait like this. This woman should have been rushed right into delivery. The fact that the intake nurse is just sitting there asking these questions with no empathy, no emotion, she doesn't care at all. You could tell the way she keeps looking over and looking down at her. Like, she's enjoying it, I think. They've made the medical industry into a business, and now the people that pursue that as a job, as a career, they don't care about patients as much anymore as they care about money. They know they can get paid. And so they go into it as a business. And I know that there's plenty of people who still do care, but obviously not this woman at all. The pain in this woman's voice, it's unacceptable. This is just...
See, this is the reason that the death rate is so high for African American women during childbirth. Where's the empathy? Where's the bedside manner? Those questions could have been asked as she prepared her for labor. Make it make sense. I hope and pray that baby was born healthy and okay. Anytime a woman thinks that the baby is in their ass, that's a clear indication that baby is on its way. I hope this nurse lost her job, and I hope this woman sues the hell out of that hospital.
Hey guys, I'm here with Mom and baby Cash. They are doing well. He has a doctor's appointment tomorrow at the pediatric center. It's a lot of concerns. They taking tests on him. He still have to go through several other tests down the line because he was born with his eyes open, and due to the stress and trauma that occurred in the triage area, the baby had a bowel movement in Mom, and the fluids was green, and like I said, he born with his eyes open. So they are, taking all that in consideration as well. But he's eating well, sleeping well, looking good. And I was also reading a lot of the comments, and some of you under the impression it was twins. They are not twins. This is daughter with baby Cash, and this is other daughter with baby DJ. They are a month apart. DJ born 10/10 and KJ born 11/11. Thank you again for your support and your concerns, and we will most definitely keep you updated.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Profess. Thanks again for tuning in. Alright, this is heartbreaking, especially what we just watched right now. You know, if you're like me, you spend most of your time scrolling on the internet, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or even X or Twitter. And most of the time, it's the online hook actually screaming at me. But for this video, I was screaming against this Karen, especially for leaving this mom in labor pain and asking stupid paperwork questions as if you don't care. Leaving someone in labor pain that is screaming because they cannot handle themselves just because you want to fill paperwork that you can actually do later. And this is very painful to watch because where is the humanity? People are asking the hard question. People are actually calling out the nurse to be a Karen, and they're asking the painful, hard question. Is this just negligence or is this racism? Is it because the mom was melanated with, you know, what I mean? And this is exactly why the mortality rate of black women is so high compared to white women. When we are facing such negligence as this, it doesn't make sense. But we thank God because the mother actually gave birth 12 minutes later after that incident. The nurse could have actually waited 12 minutes to go ahead and ask for those paperwork questions, but she decided to be negligent. People are calling out the hospital and people are actually avoiding it. Let's take a look at these videos that I've sampled for you of Americans actually reacting to this video. Let me know your opinions in the comment section below, and hit a like button. Really helps with the algorithm when you hit like and comment. Let's take a look. I'll be back with more commentary after this.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yes.
are you able to call the anesthesiologist?
Someone is coming to take you to labor and delivery.
That's not what I asked.
I cannot know.
I just watched something that absolutely disgusted me. As a former ER nurse and a current labor and delivery nurse, I usually try to seek the best intent of a nurse. Not today. Not today. Because barring you having a medical emergency yourself, where your legs, your arms, and your voice no longer work, there is zero excuse for the blatant neglect that I just watched. And as a reminder, Black women are 3 times as likely to die in and around childbirth than their white counterparts. Part of that is because they are not believed about their pain. How you can sit there on the computer and act like you don't notice that this woman is actively birthing beside you is crazy town to me. Unacceptable, inexcusable. And if you've got coworkers who you watch do something like that, you are just as culpable.
How many times have you been?
And that abuse went on for a while. And I say abuse because it is abuse. And when we know that Black and brown people are 4 times likely to die today than me and my color, this is totally disgusting behavior. But let me tell you something. This happens way more than we talk about. This mom was clearly having a baby, was just ignored. I have also had clients ignored. I sat in an ER with a client, a Black mom, who was sitting on her ball for more than an hour. And I would go up to the desk about every 10 minutes or so and ask what the problem was, that she was actually in active labor and no one cared, and why she's gone on to have 2 home births. I'm not saying to have a home birth. I'm saying that systems need to pay attention to how they're treating people, because this is one of the reasons why people feel unsafe and are having out-of-hospital births. This mom ended up standing up, turning around in the wheelchair, then had a baby not too long after that. There are some people who do not need to even enter the doors of healthcare.
Hello, TikTok family. This is a follow-up on the video that I posted earlier. So, I was at work. I had no idea of the activity that was going on. My daughter's texting me, calling me. I didn't know what was going on. So finally I get home, they tell me about the video, and a lot of you was asking about a follow-up. and to explain the situation. So this is the situation. My daughter went into active labor at home. We took her to the hospital. She called ahead of time, so we know they are expecting us. However, we get there to the emergency room. We watching nurses, putting gloves on, running to the door. They get outside of the door, and I drive a black SUV, and they look at my vehicle, and one of the nurses come up to the window, and she goes, I'm sorry, this is for ambulance only. I said, well, my daughter is in active labor. And she was like, okay. She said, but you're going to have to go to the front. I'm like, I have to drive to the front. And they said, yeah, you have to drive to the front. Okay, another redhead. And so I'm like, so she's in the, you hear, and it was like, yeah, she started bagging up, hit the button, went back inside the building. So I go around to the front. I get out of the car. Again, this girl is in more pain now than she was when we first left the house. And she started saying, I feel pressure, I feel pressure. I said, take deep breaths. I ran in. I said, hey, my daughter's in the car. I went to emergency. They told me I had to come to the front. So the lady was like, what's your daughter's name? Told her Kiara Jones. She gets out some paperwork, started typing in the name. I was like, ma'am, do you have a wheelchair or anything? She's in the car. I need to get her in. Oh, if you check on the other side of those doors where the vending machine's at, there should be a wheelchair out there. There's no wheelchair out there. So she gets up, she walks in the back, and she come to the door with a wheelchair. She said, here you go, ma'am. I said, excuse me, you're not going to come with me? And she was like, no. Oh, okay. So, a police officer was in the lobby. He gets up. He grabbed a wheelchair. He goes out the door with me. He said, come on, I got you. Went out there. She is on hands and knees in the back of the vehicle. And I'm like, oh, shit, what is going on? And then she goes, it's in my ass. And I was like, what? And the guy was like, and she was like, he said, okay, she was like, give me a minute. She could not move. So when that contraction eased, we put her in a wheelchair. He said, you can go park your car, because they, again, had people out there. So I went park my car. It wasn't even 30 seconds. I run back in the building. She's just there with a stack of papers in her hand, screaming that this baby is coming. This baby is coming. I look at the registers behind the window, and they looking at me, and they was like, well, we can't do anything until she signed the papers. Are you fucking kidding me? So I grabbed the papers, and of course, it's all ER bullshit that they have. And I was like, you want her to sign this, and she's in active labor. And they was like, okay. I was like, ma'am, she was supposed to be induced earlier today at 8 o'clock. And they called and told her that they would call her because they didn't have beds. And they would let her know. And no one ever called back. They called back every hour on an hour. And they was like, no, we'll call you back. And then finally, her water break, she called them. They tell her to come in. So why is she signing these papers? We need her in labor and delivery. And it was like, ma'am, I'm sorry. So the charge nurse comes out, and she saw the paper signed. What fucking, are you serious right now? And she closes the door. And then the lady behind the window, at this point, my daughter, scribbled her name on all the papers. We gave it to her. She says, thank you. She walked it around to the charge nurse. She opened up the door. My daughter is literally like having a contraction. And she's just standing there in the door. So we push her into the door. I said, can we get her into labor and delivery? She said, no, we have to fill out all this paperwork. I have to do the paperwork, and get her a band before we can send her upstairs. So that was the video that you guys saw that I initially posted. So the next video that has no picture on it was when I was pushing her in and we was at the window, because they asked me to move her from the window so they can take care of other guests or, you know, patients that was coming in and out. Do not go to this hospital. This hospital is ghetto as hell. They do not care about black women or their babies. This is crazy. I read about stuff like this all the time, but to see this firsthand, this lady did not care, none of them. It wasn't until we got into labor and delivery where we saw an ounce of care or sympathy for her. Before then, they can care less. She did not care if she gave birth in that wheelchair. That was not her problem or her concern.
Any true midwife would have known that baby was coming, okay? The woman was groaning like, that means the baby's knocking on the door, okay? You've asked her the question, what baby number is this? Baby number 3. Do you know how many times as a midwife you can be asking them the questions whilst you're helping them bring down their trousers, whilst you're taking them to the delivery room? That woman was going to give birth. And the fact that the healthcare professional did not even look at her, you're speaking to a labouring woman and you haven't even turned around to even look at her, to even see all the signs, everything, every sign she gave, the fact that she can't sit down, she had to stand up, she had to turn around, every sign gave that baby was coming. And even if that baby came 12 hours later, it doesn't matter. That's not how she should have been treated. So when we go on about black maternal health, people think we keep going on. This is what we mean. And what you just saw isn't something that happens randomly. This one just happened to be filmed. That video disgusts me so much.
I don't know if you guys have seen this footage, but this is not okay. I am absolutely mortified after watching this for many reasons. Let's just talk about the fact that I'm an ER nurse and we are supposed to take care of patients. I cannot imagine somebody walking into the emergency room that I'm working in and they are screaming and we know they're in active labor and we're just ignoring them essentially and asking them questions that we can get on the back end. We can get on this app and we can play and we can joke and we can do skits, but one thing I take extremely serious is patient care. And aside from that, let's talk about the fact that African American women are at high risk when giving birth, okay? A study from the CDC shows that for every 100,000 live births, there has been 50 fatalities in African American women, putting them at a 3 times higher chance of fatalities than Caucasian women. So for every 100,000 births, live births in Caucasian women, only 14 fatalities. Not saying, right, that this has to be about race, but it should put an emphasis on the lack of urgency on a patient who's at higher risk. My heart goes out to this mother. I am so sorry you experienced this, and I want you to know that all healthcare workers do not look like that. We actually don't claim that kind.
This video should piss off anybody that sees it, and then it just falls on what I talk about. If you are not passionate about being in the medical field and taking care of people, then you should not be in the medical field. This nurse lacked empathy, sympathy, everything that she needed to take care of this mother who literally was just about to give birth. The amount of pain that you're in right before you give birth to, those contractions, everything, it feels like your bones are breaking, and she's asking her questions. I have no words. It is truly disgusting, that video, seeing how she took care of her, the lack of urgency in the whole situation. And I hope this video gets the attention that it needs, that it deserves. because people like that should not be in the medical field. I'm so tired of it. I dealt with it all the time when I was going through my cancer treatment, and I've watched the lack of urgency with my sister who was having a seizure from the paramedics. It's just disgusting what's going on within like our medical field, the way they want to get your insurance, they want to get all your information first, and then I'll take care of you.
All right, I just want to say that I know this video is triggering and emotional for many black women, especially black moms who have actually watched this video of how this woman is being treated and neglected by this Karen just because of how she looks, just because she is a melanated woman. And this is exactly what I want to talk about. This is actually historical. When you do some research, you will find that black women have a 400-year history of having their pain dismissed, dating back to slavery, where myths about black people being stronger and feeling less pain were created to justify medical experimentation. And some of those myths actually still show up today in biases, stereotypes, and clinical decision making. Now, the current incident isn't a glitch. This is part of a long lineage of misunderstanding. This is part of a long lineage of negligence. And what people need to understand is that this didn't actually start in the hospital waiting room. It actually started centuries ago. And the echoes of that thinking are actually walking around in scrubs. The woman, thank God, because she actually gave birth 12 minutes later after the incident. But this woman, this Karen, could have waited and actually attended to the lady in labor pain and actually gone ahead and filled the paperwork maybe later. So people have actually been calling out the hospital. People are calling out the lady. They are getting backlash, and rightfully so. They deserve this, because this is exactly why the mortality rate of black women in labor is actually high compared to white women. And black women aren't being unalived because of biology, but because of a biased system. If we talk about biology, biologically, black and white women have the same capacity for a healthy birth. But the disparities are coming from structural racism, delayed care, dismissed pain, and lack of advocacy and stress from discrimination. Black women, even wealthy, and we have to understand that this is for all social class of black women, because even the wealthy or educated ones are facing risks. Serena Williams, Beyonce, and many public figures have actually spoken about almost being unalived during childbirth, despite having money and access to world-class care and hospitals. So if the billionaires and the megastars and the people who can actually pull the strings in power are actually almost being unalived while giving birth, can you imagine for a second the black moms with no power, with no money, with no fame? How are they facing this negligence? These are the conversations that actually need to be addressed, because most of the time this neglect actually looks like silence, not violence, because what they will do, they'll make it look like not believing the patient's pain, or making them wait, or prioritizing paperwork, as this lady was actually doing, or even delaying triage and minimal eye contact, or showing empathy, tone, posture, and attitude, acting like black women in distress are dramatic, loud, and exaggerating. That is exactly how they make it look. They make the neglect look like silence, not violence, so that they can be able to flip the script to actually favor them when things get, worse. Imagine racism in healthcare being like someone shouting insults, but most of the time it is someone ignoring a black patient like this lady right here until it's almost too late. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about today's episode? I'm a presenter, Profess. If you're new, kindly consider subscribing. Hit that like button. It really helps with the algorithm when you hit the like button and leave a comment. And thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.